power of the inbox, a practical strategy for successful email marketing. We'll go through the presentation, probably take about 35 minutes or less, and then we'll have questions, and we'll take questions on all topics marketing, including email. So let's go ahead and start. So why email? Well, because it works everywhere. There's a lot of great numbers about email and email marketing. Email marketing is great because it has 3 times the conversion rate of social media. For every $1 spent on email marketing, there's a $44.25 average ROI. And the reason email still works so well is that it's a great way to reach your customers and your prospects. 91% of people check their email daily, and 88% check email on their smartphones. And you're probably one of these people, as I am and everybody else, that checking emails become part of your daily habit, maybe checking it by the hour, maybe you're checking it by the minute, but regardless, all of us are checking email more than ever. With email, it's also reliable. It gets delivered about 90+% of the time, while Facebook posts generally reach about 2% of their fans. And that number often for Facebook businesses is such a tough number because they're basically have Facebook algorithms that kind of try and push you into doing the advertising, the paid advertising on places like Facebook and LinkedIn now. It's a lot different game than it used to be. You can harness the power of the inbox, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Here's what we're going to cover. Why email, harnessing the power of that inbox, and then we're going to put it all together. First, talk a little bit about myself, why we're here, and how we got here. I'm Vito Curcuru, Consult Vito Marketing Consultancy. I'm the founder and CEO. That's my email address, and that's my website, Vito@ConsultVito, and I have those up there in case you want to request the slides or have a link to the presentation. I am the president of the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and this webinar is part of our marketing series. We do 2 a month, and the upcoming are February 17th, 2 p.m., Simple Recipe for Social Media Success. And February 24th, we're going to talk about the basics of Google Ads, a very hot topic. A lot of people ask me for information about Google Ads, but we're going to cover the basics of Google Ads to get you started so you can see what it's all about. Again, the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce, this is put on by our chamber, and this is all content by Constant Contact. I'm a certified Constant Contact partner, which means I've taken a lot of classes in email marketing, and I can also sell it to you or give you a free trial. And again, Constant Contact content will be on February 17th, and on February 24th, it's going to be all Google content. We are a Grow with Google partner. So everything you're seeing today is from Constant Contact, fully researched by them, and everything you'll see on the 17th and on the 24th, it's going to be basically all Google information. So it'll be clear, concise, and it'll be exactly what you're looking for if you want to know a little bit about the Google Ad program. So let's get back into our presentation for the day. We talked a little bit about why email marketing, so let's get in there a little bit more about that inbox. First impressions. Well, they matter. When someone opens your email, they'll give it a 2-second glance and then either read on or they'll delete it. What they see is going to determine what they do next. Maybe you want them to visit your website, register for an event, donate to your nonprofit, or try a new product. This is where professional-looking email designed to drive action is crucial. And the next question often people ask, what types of emails will you send? Notice the difference between a regular email from your own Outlook, Gmail, or Yahoo account on the left and one sent through an email service provider like Constant Contact on the right. And a lot of people, have other programs besides Constant Contact. So MailChimp, there's a lot of great email platforms out there. So what you're seeing on the right could easily be from any one of those as well. And let's talk about why the email on the left is not really doing your marketing any justice and why the email on the right is worth its return on investment. Regular email it sometimes has we're going to talk about things like canned spam. And if people don't know what that is, that's the federal law regarding making sure that you don't send people commercial emails when they're not looking for information from you. And the requirements of those laws, if you're not familiar with them, you probably want to send through a provider like a Constant Contact, because they have unsubscribe buttons on the bottom, and it's generally much more user-friendly for the person who may not be familiar with it. Now, that's not to say you can't send someone a one-to-one email, which is what, if you have that relationship going, you do want to do. But if you're sending it out to prospects, or you're sending it out to a list of people, what you don't want to do is have 100 people in the CC or the BCC area, because then when you keep sending them and there's no opt-out or unsubscribe button, that's when you can start to get in trouble. So regular emails also have limited sending. There's no formatting control like we saw the one on the right. They're susceptible to spam filters. There's generally no branding. You have that spam that we talked about, and there's no tracking, and there's generally no reporting. But email marketing, when you have a platform like a Constant Contact, you do get all of the graphics, the design, the branding. You get the beautiful templates. You get to reinforce your brand identity. You get to manage subscriptions, so you can put some people on list A, some people on list B, and customize the messaging to them. You can ensure email delivery, because places like Constant Contact generally have a solid and great reputation, so their email generally breaks through the through the spam filters. And you can track your results, who opened what, and then you can put the people who opened certain sections on a new list. You can reach out to those people who have opened something that you may feel will push them and further down your sales funnel. There's a lot of great advantages to using a Constant Contact, a MailChimp, or what have you. And they obey the law. So next, obviously, people always talk about how to grow your list. And of course, you absolutely want to do that. And the importance of permission is really where it all starts. Permission is a critical part of the email marketing process, and there's legislation in place in the US and Canada that governs how we can email customers and prospects. Never a good idea to blindly send people who you don't know, you have no relationship with, emails, because that can be a frustrating experience for them and can get you in a little trouble. Now, I will, after this presentation, put everyone on my Constant Contact email list, and what I do is I provide marketing tips and information. I provide studies, but generally information that'll help you move your marketing to the next level from a variety of sources. A lot like what we're doing today, all this content is from Constant Contact. Generally, all the information I provide is specifically from a lot of social media companies, social media marketing companies, or other like Google, Constant Contact, just a lot of information that's useful. And what you do when you're asking for and why the importance of permission is important is you're getting express consent. Ask for permission in all touch points of your sales process. And it could be a checkbox when someone's buying from your website. Click here to sign up for my email, or simply asking a question in a face-to-face interaction. You want to be straightforward. When you ask for permission to take advantage of the opportunity to set a couple of expectations, you can tell them how often you will be in their inbox, and also what type of content they should expect. If you do this well and follow through, you'll have more success. Offer the opt-out. Of course, make sure you have an option to let your contacts unsubscribe in every email that you send. And when you use one of these platforms like a Constant Contact, MailChimp, etc., not only will you have that option, but they're also going to automatically manage those who opt out, so you don't have to. You want to respect privacy. It's a great way to set your contacts or potential contacts at ease when they are joining your list. It helps them feel that their data is protected. And again, this is something that email service providers like Constant Contact special in. You want to follow compliance guidelines, clear and obvious permission, clearly identify the person, business, or organization, and that's why brand recognition is crucial. And there's also a lot of these sign-up tools that we're talking about are fully built into these platforms. Inform people they can subscribe at any time. We have a process to record that express consent. And this is why you want to collect those email addresses in a very much responsible way. But the next logical question is, how do we get them? And again, I'd recommend, in person if you have a retail establishment, or if you're doing a transaction with someone, ask them, get their email address. You can do it with an online form. Those pop-up forms that come when you're on a site or you're about to leave a site, as annoying as they might be, they are incredibly effective to build your list. And I recommend you put an offer there. Save 15% on your next order, give us your email address, and then you can set that up in an automated email series. So if someone puts their email address in, they get the 15% off coupon. Make sure there's an expiration date on that. Then the second email you can send them, which is automated, is welcome to our list. And the third one can be an offer of a piece of thought leadership or some tips or some way that they can reinforce your service, which could be, if you're a florist, the third email could be, here's a tip to keep your, when you cut your rose bush, the flower off, put some Elmer's glue on it. Could be any one of a variety of offers that you provide information on that third one. Then, of course, you can just have them a printed form at your register, a printed form when you're out. Often, these three ways, in person, online, and print, can cover just about all the different areas when it comes to getting people to sign up for your list. Let's get a little bit deeper on the in-person. And while making a purchase, when helping someone, or at events, you've probably seen sign-up forms at all of these, or they can do it electronically on a tablet. There's a lot of different ways to grab them. I recommend considering, if you're at an event, bring an iPad, have people type it in directly, or have someone take it right from the person at a purchase, have a second person as they're filling the order, ask for that email address and collect it. When it comes to print, signage at your location, like we talked about, put it on your business cards, flyers, brochures, or direct mail. Always make sure that you're putting in the opportunity for someone to sign up. You send them the link they can sign up at, or put on your business cards. Always make sure your website's there, and obviously make sure there's signage at your location. A lot of people don't have signage at their location, which is probably the easiest way to get the emails, because you have a captive audience who's there looking for your information, your service, and your products. When it comes to online, absolutely on your website. On social media, in your Facebook page or on your LinkedIn description, allow people the opportunity to sign up with a link. In your email signature, during online purchases and donations. So thinking about all those different ways that you can grab someone's email address or simply and ask for permission to send to them, there's probably a lot of people on this call. Maybe you have one or two of them. I'd say make a list of them. And if that went by too fast, send me your email address with the request. I'll send you the presentation so you can take a look at it and get all these different ways. Also, my number is 586-215-4270 if you have any questions about any of this advice. So now let's talk about why someone would subscribe. A lot of people are looking for the discounts and the promotions, no surprise there. Another common reason is that people want to show support for a cause or an organization. They want to stay in the know about what's happening and volunteer and donate to your cause. There are also those people who like to receive exclusive content. They want to hear about your goals and progress towards those goals, or that you can provide them curated content from other sources. There's a lot of reasons people will sign up for your email. And imagine all the different reasons and whys when you signed up for certain email lists. And think about, as you're going through different websites, when those pop-ups happen, as to what they're offering and what they plan on giving you once you sign up. When you start to become highly aware of opportunities as to why they subscribe, you'll start to see the places that you can get people to sign up and why they're going to want to sign up, and then make sure you deliver on that promise, of course. There's also a lot of integrations. For Facebook, Constant Contact will have a sign up plugin that you can use there. There's a lot of integrations on the Google Forms, and there's a lot of opportunity, and sometimes it's just a matter of digging out the different ways you want to collect them. And a lot of them are free or no costs, or low cost. Focus on being relevant. Make sure that you know what your audience values. A lot of business owners assume that they know what their audience wants, and they could be completely off base. Go ahead and do the research by asking or surveying your customers and prospects what type of information they would like to receive in their inbox. A lot of email platforms have a polling feature, and you can simply send out a note. Would you like to vote on next month's topic? Is there a certain topic that you'd like to hear more about? And of course, there's survey forms like Alchemer and Qualtrics. Alchemer used to be Survey Gizmo. That's one that I use, and it's very easy to use. And you can send out a more in-depth survey. And then also when you're sending out that survey, you can find out how much is enough. Some people may want to be on once a month. Some people might want to receive updates weekly. And then keep in mind how you're going to segment that list. You can start to send out more relevant content in a more timely fashion once you start to do that. And also putting your reader first, they may want to find out about information that's going on in your business, pictures of your volunteers, pictures of your employees, pictures of you. Understand that there's a lot of, I would say, almost reality type show content that you can provide in these email newsletters, and kind of think about that programming and that editorial calendar accordingly. So you really want to remember to write for your audience, because 38% are going to unsubscribe if what you're providing is what they consider boring. 32% will mark it as spam if it's irrelevant. So those are pretty big numbers. And when you start hearing those numbers, that's why you want to be careful with what you send. But my advice when everybody asks, well, what can I send as an example? I'd say you want to be true to your business, true to your brand, and true to yourself. And the reason is because you're establishing a relationship with your audience. You're establishing a relationship with the people who are on the receiving end. And if you're consistent with who you are, what your business is all about, and your brand, then all those three things coming together will provide people the opportunity to get to know you on a different level. And it gives them the opportunity to look forward to the content that you're going to provide. So again, writing for your audience and not for you. So make your message relevant, short, and focused. You can make it relevant to your audience by thinking about the conversations you've had with your clients, customers, and members. After an interaction with someone, go ahead and write some of those ideas down for your next email, and pick 1 or 2 ideas to highlight in each email. Your email shouldn't be telling recipients every single thing that you do, and it shouldn't include extraneous information. So think about that time that you're on a call with a customer or someone who's admired your business or someone you've talked to about your business. What are the questions that they may have asked you? What are the questions that you have in your frequently asked questions area? And this is a good way to build that section up and to pull content from that section into your email. So how much is enough? Well, general rule of thumb, less is more. Think about 3 articles, 3 images or less, and no more than 3 calls to action. So this is a general rule and a guideline, but for a lot of people, those numbers can be startling, and these numbers can be jarring. And the big recommendation is, of course, less is more, because it's going to allow people to get a feel for your email, make a decision, and then take an action. You don't want to overwhelm them. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but think of this as a general rule that maybe you can get some of your email communications down to and start to look at the performance of them and the click-throughs and see if that is improving your performance. And we did a study of customers and found that the best practice is to limit yourself to 20 lines of text, 3 or fewer images, because your audience is busy. So that's 20 lines of text and 3 or fewer images. Now remember that half of all emails are read on a mobile device. And Constant Contact's research shows that 1 link gets the best click-through rate. So you want your audience to take an action, use a link to make that clear. 2 links are okay, but once you get to 3 links, the click-through rates start to decline. Any higher than 5 links means that people are less likely to click anywhere in your email. Try to stick with that 1 or 2 links and keep them high in your message so people do not have to scroll down to take an action. And for your mobile readers, make sure that you're keeping your messages short and your calls to action above the fold, meaning readers don't have to scroll down to get your most important content. So there is a law of diminishing returns when it comes to links and calls to action that you want to be aware of. So let's talk about turning your interactions with your customers, clients, members, supporters, and volunteers into content for your email. Think for a second about that last interaction you had with someone at your organization. What questions did a customer or client have? What information are people requesting about your nonprofit? Can you turn an answer to their questions into an email? And here are some great examples. But one easy way to practice this is in real life is to create 2 columns in a spreadsheet or document or just one piece of paper with the questions you regularly get on the left, and in the right column, write down a way you can turn the answers to those questions in an email full of relevant and fresh content. This is an easy exercise to do, and it's often overlooked, but I would certainly suggest trying this. And having someone to bounce these ideas off with, of course, will always help, but you can see how simple it is. How do I ensure my pipes won't burst this winter? Well, 5 ways to protect your pipes this winter. Can I deduct the mileage I drive for volunteering? Simply put, your top 3 mileage deduction questions. How do I get more people to attend my events? Here's 10 ways to increase event attendance. It's just that simple because you already have those questions. You're the expert in your field, and you can probably write those articles if those are your business, if that's your business core pretty quickly. So images are content too. Let's keep that in mind as well. And it might be a relief from those who suffer from writer's block. The great content doesn't have to be written at all. Visual content like photos, videos, graphics, and word images make a huge impact in an email inbox. Did you know that 90% of information processed by the brain is visual content, and more than half of consumers believe that images are a very important factor when buying? Visuals are important in your business because they influence customers' purchasing decisions. 67% of consumers believe the images are very, very important when selecting and purchasing a product. And you could use photos to show off your products or shots from a recent event, and you can link to videos to show your organization in action or a product demonstration. Word images, a brief phrase, statistic, or quote over a background image, are a great way to share information in an eye-catching way. And I think that's intuitive. Most of the time you'll hear people say, oh, I'm a visual learner, or I prefer pictures. And it kind of goes all the way back to, cave paintings. We've always been kind of a visual, humans have always been of the visual nature. So being able to use those visual images could be a great help. If you're not a graphic designer and you want to have a low cost freemium product to use, I'd recommend Canva, canva.com. That's canva.com. And that is a product that has some free pictures and photos, and then other pictures you have to pay for. I've been using it for several years. I've never had to pay for a picture once or a template, but it's a great low cost and free opportunity to kind of put some of these pictures together. Now, when working with photos, remember, every email should have at least a supporting image that draws your readers to your message. It's of course best if you can use your own photos, but if you can't, you can always access free and paid stock photos with a lot of different sources, including Canva or Constant Contact or Whiplash, or I think it's Pixabay and Unsplash. You don't want to just use any image you find on the internet, as you could find yourself in trouble regarding copyright laws. And there's a lot of online stock photo sites, and Unsplash is one of them, in addition to Canva and others. So take a look around and make sure that you're not using anyone's copyrighted images, or you're not using Getty unless you paid for it, or Shutterstock unless you paid for it. So images that look natural and realistic tend to work better. And when you download a photo, be sure the image is 600 to 800 pixels wide to get the best quality. You could also go to places like Canva and have those put in a box, and it'll resize the picture for you. Basically, we'll put the picture inside of the box that you create and then stretch it or shrink it accordingly. So make sure we choose the right size, avoid copyright issues, use your own photos, find those stock images. Now, you've heard that a picture is worth 1,000 words. In your email, you can communicate through images as well as text. So turn those images into clickable links so that when your readers click on your images, they'll be directed to the action you want them to take. just make sure to also include a text link to the same location, because about 67% of email readers will not see images by default. And I think we've all experienced that, where the email comes through and it says download images, and then you have to download the images, and then you get to see the images. So that's why you want to have that link there, because if someone's just scanning through that email and they see a link for whatever action you're asking them to take, they'll be able to take that action whether they see that picture or not, which is a big tip, because it's a big mistake when you don't have that link. And a lot of people would prefer to just have that image, but you got to think about the user experience. Email tools like Constant Contact and others make it easy to assign a URL to your images and to add alt text so that a description of the image appears even if the reader doesn't see the picture, which goes back to that you can't see the image, but people can see whatever text is representing that image. So remember now, though, what's important is not to give too many choices. We're supposed to have quick decisions like we talked about, so clicking to shop in your online store or selecting an item and clicking to buy. Because remember what we talked about, too many choices will reduce the number of decisions and actions a person can take. Think of it as a time limit thing. Think of your campaign as window shopping. You want to entice someone to come in right then and buy because of whatever got their attention. So let's talk about looking great and recognizable in any inbox. Statistics tell us 55% of emails now open on a mobile device, which means your emails not only have to be interesting and actionable, but they have to look great on every device. So luckily, all these email platforms have hundreds of templates already designed to be optimized no matter where your audience reads your email. And that's one less thing for you to worry about when creating your email. Remember, being recognized is critical to success in email marketing. Make sure your emails look like your website, and there is some of these platforms, including Constant Contact, will build a template for you based on your website. Make sure that the printed material from a logo, you have that color correct, and you want to make sure that that color, get your hex numbers down. Go to a website when you're if you have your colors, or if you're in the process of selecting new colors, just go to any hex and color number website and grab those numbers, and you can start using that as a basis for everything, especially your email marketing. It never hurts to know the exact color, the RGB of it, or the hex number, or all of that information. Jot them all down and keep them somewhere safe. So statistics also show us that it's 55% opened, and being recognized is critical to success in email marketing. Make sure they look like the information that it's supposed to look like. You want to have that customization and the professional looking templates designed to address your specific goals and to save you time. You want to be recognized and consistent everywhere. Your email, your website, your social media, make sure that they all have the right colors, the right logo. Make sure that they all have the same kind of messaging, and make sure that there's consistency across the board. Because a lot of these platforms will allow you to post your Constant Contact or whatever newsletter. They'll allow you to plug it into your social media. You want everything to look as consistent as you can. So let's talk a little bit about newsletters, announcements, and promotions, some different kinds of email that you will probably want to use. Newsletters typically show your expertise. Remember, you're giving away good information for attention. Remember to use the teaser paragraph strategy. If you have a whole article of content, tease the first few sentences and create a read more link to the rest of the content on a website. You can even link to a PDF article, and that'll help you keep the newsletter short and allows you to track your audience's interests. Announcements are a great way to showcase special updates and opportunities. It could be your business winning an award, or a special event, or a sale. Or maybe you want to generate interest in your newest product or give your audience a chance to provide feedback. Clickable buttons are a perfect way to draw your reader's eye to an important, actionable part of your email. Promotions, make sure you don't give too many choices. Remember, you want someone to see the benefit of your email and take that quick action. There's a lot of pre-made coupons that you can customize for your promotion. You can even encourage your audience to spread the word for you by including social media profiles. The greatest benefit to all these templates is the ability to see how well you achieved each of your goals. So is your audience engaging in your newsletter articles? Did your audience want to read more about your newest service? How many people are taking advantage of those special offers? Then adjust future emails to cater to what your audience likes. And that comes down to reporting, which we're going to get to in a little bit. So let's talk about that simple recipe now of building out your ideal email to test, the template. Single column template. Now this is based on constant contacts analysis of over 2 million constant contact customer emails. And this is the recipe for the most effective email campaign. Single column template, fewer than 3 images, fewer than 20 lines of text, no more than 3 to 5 links, actions above the scroll line. So hopefully this is good information and maybe new to a lot of people, but this is one example of what a lot of testing and research and how to get that simple recipe for success. And Constant Contact has got all 2 million emails. The ones are always coming out. People are sending them. This is the kind of research that can help you with your email marketing. Now, give them 4 reasons for people to pay attention. Give them a recognized sender, a compelling subject, good timing, and easy social options. So those are all important to remember. Recognized sender, a lot of people will put, this is from the such and such a business. But if you can get more personal, say it's coming from an individual, then they can start to build that relationship with you. Make sure that subject is compelling. Now you always want to have that good timing and easy social options. Let people be able to get to your social media channels. So thinking about how to win the battle of priorities and get more people to stop and open your email. Think about how you sort your email. Or if you're on Facebook, think about the newsfeed. Typically, when you open your email, and think about how you did it this morning, you start at the top of the list and you go down, sorting by who it's from. And that's why we recommend that from name and from email, making it recognizable. More than 1/3 of the people open an email based on the subject line. That is a big number when you think about it. That subject line is really important and critical. And that's why we want to get that subject line, and we want to make sure people know who this email is coming from. And is it worth reading? Identify your purpose. Be clear, be clever. And when we're talking about that, let's talk about keeping it short. 30 to 40 characters max. Now we're getting into the what we want to talk about with the subject line and the preheader text and why we want it to be optimized for mobile reading. And these are the limits. Again, a lot of research going into this. 30 to 40 characters max typically appear on most mobile devices. 6 to 10 words is best. 4 to 7 has the greatest response. The first 11 to 18 words of preheader generally are the text that's going to entice mobile readers. So thinking about those subject lines, think small. The inbox will typically only show users the first 9 to 11 words of the preheader text or any words above the logo. Take control of that fact and put a few power-packed words into that block above that company logo, which should always be placed at the top of the clickable link to your website. So as a rule of thumb, write your subject lines between 6 to 10 words, and don't forget about mobile users, because 51% of email is now open on a mobile device, and you don't want to exclude those people who are reading on the go and who may be more apt sometimes to stop by your business or respond to your message. This really matters. Keep in mind, iPhones, for instance, cut off a subject line at 32 characters, so you want to keep that important stuff at the beginning. Mobile phones will also typically show the first 15 characters of the first text in the message. So take control of that feature that we've referred to as the preheader text and write that second headline. So it'll hook your reader into reading the rest of your email right from the get-go. Think of it like a complement to our subject line or the next step or hook. This text should appear just above your logo block, and we'll get into that in just a bit, but it's important to keep it in mind as you're crafting your subject line. Now, this has been a lot of specific information with specific character numbers, specific numbers of words, and I know it's coming at everybody very quickly. So again, you can email me for the presentation. It will be posted on the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. This recording will be put on there probably within a week. But again, this could get very specific and be very effective. So here's Half Moon Yoga Studio. And your goal is to put them into your email. When designing that email, be sure to write that pre-header text at the top. And you can highlight relevance, usefulness, value, or educational value at the opening of your message to catch their attention, or you can switch it up and do something unexpected or non-traditional or unusual. And this is how it's seen on a mobile device right below the subject line, including some desktop viewers. So use that pre-header text, that teaser text, as a hook or a second chance to draw your subscribers' attention. Because this space allows for slightly more words, this is where you want to take your subject line a little bit further by explaining or elaborating on that subject line. So customize that message to match the interests of your audience. If you're segmenting or characterizing your list, use relevant personal interest information that you've collected over time, and your subject line will match those. Now let's get into those words that we're going to use in our subject line and our pre-header text. Make sure you're not doing the things we found a lot of spammers do in their emails. These are things that will likely get your email sent to reader spam folders. Don't use these spammy words, and when you get the hang of it, you'll start to understand your frustrations if you feel like some of the emails that you're getting are spammed. Don't use the word free, act now, fast, guaranteed, advertisement. Don't use all caps. Don't use excessive punctuation or symbols like the pound or dollar sign or percentage symbol. Avoid the following. Check your spam-like terms. Check your spam folder. Use spam check button. All capital letters. Excessive punctuation. I want to re-emphasize that because this is how you can get, people always ask, how can I get past the spam filter? What kind of things trigger my email from not going through, or why might people be ignoring it? So this is how people end up in junk folders. In addition to, some folders are so strong with their firewalls, you can't break through unless you actually have someone get your domain or your email address as accepted. So those can be different problems, but generally speaking, these are the words to avoid. Emails with social media buttons also increase click-through rates by 158%. So encourage your audience to share your promotions by using social media tools. It's really an effective way you can grow your reach. Add those social media buttons that link to your business's social media profiles. The buttons are a nice visual reminder for them to click and follow you online. So again, now email can help you with your social media following and help you build that up as well. Now let's talk about some of those metrics. For those of you using regular email to communicate to your audience, think about the number of people who have stopped opening your messages entirely. Do you think that they're some of the reasons? Have you gone into the email, tried to see what their history was? What have you done to go back into that person's history or go back into your previous emails and look to see what items were getting the best click-throughs and what items were helping you get people to open in terms of the subject lines and the pre-header text? There's a lot of this information. It's very easy to look at, very easy to use, but you want to do kind of a reflection of what was happening on previous emails and let the data help you make those decisions. Opens generally gauge interest, and now with open rates, you can take a look at when and you should be sending things and what the industry averages are. Constant Contact, if you Google industry average open rates, there is a chart that's accessible to everyone that's updated monthly. You can kind of get a benchmark. I can also email that to you if you have a hard time finding it. Clicks often measure success. They identify engaged readers, and the industry averages are between 5 and 18%. So that's something to keep in mind, and that also can be found on a chart depending on your industry. Constant Contact does track a lot of different industries, and it'll give you your exact percentage as to what your success rate should be and if you're on target or not. And that's important to remember, that clicks and open rates, there are some standards in the industry, and just by Googling Constant Contact open rates and click-through rates, that may help you make your case if you're a marketing person to let the people in charge or your management to know you are having success. Click-throughs are important, and also you can take those people and start to understand what their interests are, and you can do outreach after you find people are going through and whatever they're clicking on. That may be a reason to follow up in a one-to-one email. The do not opens, you want to re-engage that audience, test new methods, and obviously those numbers are pretty high because there's a lot of emails that don't get opened. Opt-outs, collect the feedback if you can, adjust that mailing strategy. Industry averages are generally under 1%. When you're first starting out on email, it'll probably be a little higher. I'd never freak out about your unsubscribes. You never know what might be triggering someone. Could be that they're no longer, your product or service is no longer needed in their lives. Maybe they had a baby, that baby has grown up. It could be that they've moved, they're no longer in your neighborhood. So I always tell people, unsubscribe. You don't want a lot of them, but it's okay if you get a handful of them a month or every time you send them out. When we talk about bounces, and this is always a big conversation, you want to make sure you're identifying what the bad bounces are. Sometimes a bounce could happen because the person's email box is full, but sometimes it could be a bad address, and sometimes it could be that this your platform has been continuously sending emails to people, and if it keeps bouncing, they recommend that you delete it, which is how you want to get rid of all the bad bounces. But you want to look through and understand why and how people are bouncing, and keep your list as clean as possible. It's easy to get a bounce if someone leaves that company, if someone changes their email. People generally change their email address sometimes every 18 months or so. They may go from a Gmail to a Hotmail to an Outlook. They may change jobs. There's a lot of reasons that you might get bounces. So that's another cautionary tale. A lot of people get worried about bounces, but there's a lot of reasons for bounces, and most of your platforms will be able to tell you exactly what's going on. And also, it'll help you cull your list down. So if you're on some kind of max program, you can have only so many email addresses. It's always good to clean out those bounces. So when you're making decisions, sometimes low opens, there's the name that's coming from is not recognizable. So you want to either put your name or your brand's name. You want to make sure that the subject line becomes more interesting and powerful, and send timely emails, which could be a promotion that expires in 2 weeks, could be something that has to do with the holiday. And with your low clicks, have a stronger call to action, keep that email shorter, and send those targeted emails. So you put people on a list. So for example, if you're a pet store, you may have cat lovers or dog lovers, and that'll help increase the content relevancy to people because they're really specifically looking for that information about a particular topic, which is why they signed up. And of course, feel free to take a survey out and ask people exactly what they're looking for. So all of these kind of also lead to, remember those key issues of brand recognition, the key issue of where the email is coming from, and being true to yourself, your brand, and being true to why people have signed up for your particular email. So those super fans who may be performing very high, take a look at what they're doing, and the people who aren't doing anything, take a look and see if you can provide more relevant content to, in terms of putting them on a different list, or maybe it's a matter of putting them on once a month instead of a weekly list. There's a lot of things you can start to think about. So we went over why email marketing with some numbers that showed the ROI. We talked about the power of the inbox. Now when you want to put it all together, you get something like this, right? You get Half Moon Yoga Studio, image, not very many lines of text, a sign up button, strong call to action, social media buttons on the bottom. Very strong. Half Moon Yoga is the person sending the email. You recognize that right away. Very easy, very well done. very easy to read, strong images, call to action, and you can see how clean it is. And what they're trying to do is trying to get you signed up for those classes. 8 words, 35 characters in the subject line, including that business name, pre-header text. That logo is clickable. Those brand colors are consistent. The images are clickable. There's 3 or fewer opportunities to click, you can see. Less is more, relevant content, 20 lines of text. Clear call to action above the scroll line. Minimize the number of links. The social media buttons are on the bottom. So if you don't have a chance to take a screenshot of this, again, I can send the presentation to you. It will be on the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel as well. This is the idea, what you're aiming for. And I would suggest take your email list and develop 3 or 4 of these and send them out and see if that increases your performance. Most of the time when I work with people or talk with people, after they try a few of these, they do see their clicks increase, their click-through rate increase, their opens increase, because this is very simple and easy to understand, this kind of format. It's very easy on the user. Now, real quick before we get to the questions, this is a Constant Contact webinar brought to you by the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. Do want to mention Constant Contact has email, website, social ads, and media management of things like Facebook ads and Google ads. It does, Constant Contact will also make your logo, and there's e-commerce capabilities. So it really is a lot more than just email. And I do want to mention that. I can take you through any of it. You don't have to sign up through me. Be happy to talk to you about all of it. Once again, I'm Vito, founder CEO of Consult Vito, president of the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and our upcoming webinar is in February, a simple recipe for social media success, a 15-minute social media plan. There's a lot of people who struggle with social media, small businesses and marketing people in general. This is a good primer on getting social media done quickly, effectively, and efficiently. And to learn the basics of Google Ads, even if you don't use Google Ads, it's a good lesson in understanding how they work from the user perspective. And I always do recommend, if you are going to start to do some advertising, to steer towards Google Ads. Facebook ads can be not as effective and can be difficult in terms of managing them. But when you get the basics of Google Ads, it will open your mind and it will assist in your business, because there's a lot of great tools that Google has. The simple recipe for social media success is a Constant Contact webinar, and on the basis of Google Ads is a Google webinar. So I'll be presenting information that is tried, true, and tested. I do want to get to the questions and answers. Feel free to ask any questions about this presentation, or if you have any questions about marketing in general, or if you have something on your mind regarding promotions, marketing, or events. I'm more than happy to have the conversation. We can also take it offline. I do offer for everybody and that's on behalf of the chamber, about a 60-minute or so consultation, free of charge, a discovery session where I'll take a look at what you're doing. You can describe some of the problems you're having. I'll go back and basically try to formulate some tips and ideas to help you, or give you some ideas of free tools you may not be using. Happy to do that for anyone. I know that marketing these days can be very difficult and can be quite a struggle, and it's not the easiest because there's so much happening, and it happens so quickly, and that's where a lot of people struggle. So if anybody has any questions, let's see here. It's like we have a question about more about the subject line and the pre-header. So what I usually do on those two is I write the whole email, and then I write those 2 things last. And what it does, it allows me to first make sure that my original intentions are where I ended up. And what I mean by that is, it is very easy to get distracted when you write an email. And when you're starting to try and write the pre-header text on the subject line, it grounds you back into what your intention was on that email. So I will usually write the whole thing, and then I find out I try and figure out what the most powerful part of that email is, put that in the subject line, and then the pre-header text is the secondary headline, which may be the second piece of information that I'm trying to give someone. So my most recent Constant Contact newsletter was about the 2021 marketing trends. And that obviously was a big headline. It had a huge open rate and a huge download rate. And it seemed to me when you come out with that in January, it allows people to kind of calibrate and go forward with a plan for the whole year. So I let that become my subject line. And I let the second article I sent out was the pre-header, kind of a description on that. So thinking about that most powerful part of your email after you've written it is generally where I try to head, because you start to get a feel for what you were trying to do, what you did do, and then how to best present it to that inbox. So, see, anybody have any other questions? Looks like, and we have about 9 or 10 minutes left. So we'll stop at 3. I want to be conscious of everyone's time. And so we have a question about, other metrics. So it's a good question because there's a lot of free tools that you may not have hooked up to your site. And I get this question almost every time I do a webinar. And that's, I always tell people, get your Google Analytics hooked up. That's free. It's just a simple 6 or 7 digit code you put in your GoDaddy site, your Wix site, or you put it on your WordPress site. And what that'll do is it'll tell you website visits, and you marry that to your email, tell you your opens and your clicks, and then start to look at your social media, what engages most, what posts are most highly engaged. And then you start to get a good picture with the data and analytics, and you start to understand where the patterns are and how you can address everyone's needs better. If you can add your product mix to all of that and the promotions you want to run, you can really start to see how you can suddenly become a data-driven organization just by using these free tools and by taking a deep dive and looking at, your sales, your product mix, the places people are going on your website, what's getting the most attention on your email, and then what's getting the most attention on your social media. And suddenly, you become your own business coach, and you can start to use numbers to make decisions. And you can have people on your team help you with that. You can do it all in an Excel sheet. You can certainly use other programs that cost a lot of money, but starting out simply with Excel and kind of looking for patterns and seeing what is happening with your product mix and all these other metrics. And there's another tool, Google Search Console, and that starts to inform you as to when people click to get to your site, what were they searching for, right? So there's all these different tools you may not know about. And I'm part of this Google Ads that I'm going to go over is you don't need a large budget to do something like Google Ads, and that's a big mistake a lot of people make. So people often ask me, what's the number one mistake you see people make when it comes to advertising? And I've been in media buying and media planning for over 26 years, and I've done everything from buying the Survivor sponsorship on CBS for General Motors to buying parking lot bumpers in a parking lot where you put advertising over the, where you pull into the parking space, to posters on doors with the door hangers. So I bought a lot of different media, and I've done everything from Google Ads to Facebook ads to LinkedIn ads. The biggest mistake that companies make, especially small to medium size, is they hear Google Ads or they see Facebook, and Facebook says for $100 reach 3,000 people, and that's where you need to stop. You want to set up a full Facebook account in the Business Manager. You want to research your target, choose your target. Don't let Facebook choose that target for you, and go through the actual exercise of setting up an account. There's Facebook Blueprint, which is their sort of academy for learning about Facebook and how to advertise on Facebook. And you will master Facebook within probably 3 or 4 hours. Google Ads takes a little bit longer, but what people don't realize when they start using digital advertising is set a budget. The budget can be as small as $20 a week. It could be $2 million a week. You don't need to spend $2 million. You don't need to spend $1 million. You need to spend $10,000 a day. But if you give Google or Facebook or LinkedIn the opportunity to spend $10,000 a day, they're going to spend $10,000 a day. If you tell them you want to spend maybe $50 a week or $200 a month, you can get a lot of good learning and a lot of good information and a lot of good activity on your website for, you know, X amount of dollars. Now, there are ways to back out what the spend should be, but when you start hearing Google ads or Facebook advertising or LinkedIn advertising, it's easy to get intimidated. The systems are relatively easy to learn, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to be effective. And that's the number one. People ask me, what's the number one mistake you see small businesses make? Is they either don't think they can afford such incredible opportunities, or they've tried them and burned through a lot of money very quickly and they've soured on it and they never want to try it again, or they feel as though it's going to be too complicated, they won't be able to understand it. There's a lot of great tools, a lot of great ways, and Google and these other companies have basically set it up so that it's easy for you to learn. So I'd encourage everyone to, and also, you know, I can act as a resource to point you in the right direction. But that's what that February 24, Learn the Basics of Google Ads. We're going to start talking about that it's relatively easy. And then you have a tool like Constant Contact that has integrated social media purchasing through it. And really, the world is kind of getting easier to function in. But unless you know about all these tools, then you can't do anything with them. So again, you can set a budget and still be effective on a very small budget, or you can set a very high budget. But I don't like to see anybody get burned, because you can get burned quickly on all the digital advertising and opportunities. And there's a lot of different ways you can do retargeting. There's a lot of behavioral type advertising opportunities, but it's easy to burn through a lot of money fast. So any other questions? It's like I'm at Vito, Consult Vito. ConsultVito.com is my website, and feel free to email me for the slides. I know it's a lot of information, and some of it was very specific as far as you know, writing an effective email and effective subject lines and pre-headers. So if there aren't any other questions, we can end a little early. It's about 2:57. I do appreciate everyone's time. Again, I'm Vito Curcuru, President of the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. This is brought to you by the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. We do 2 marketing webinars a month. We also have a lot of other events and activities. We have the Women's Inspiration Network. We have Connect with an Expert. We have the Business Innovation Generator. Anyone can attend those events as well. We are based in Southeast Michigan, and consultvito.com if you have any questions, and 586-215-4270 if you prefer to give me a call. I appreciate everyone's attendance,